All right, so let's start with the big story that we are tracking on WION at this hour. A deadly strike has rocked the Ukrainian capital. 18 lives have been lost in Kyiv. Russian missiles, drones and even hypersonic weapons slammed into the city in one of the fiercest assaults that has been witnessed this year. And with an EU mission also hit, the war has now entered into a whole new dangerous phase. Now, the White House has said that the rapid Russian strikes have threatened the peace efforts that had been pursued by Donald Trump. Take a look at this report.
The night sky turned to fire. Streets lit up in a split second as missiles streaked over Kyiv, leaving trails of smoke and fear. Drones buzzed below, their engines echoing like swarms of steel hornets. Then explosions, buildings shaking. Windows shattering, alarms wailing across the capital. Residents rushed to the streets, smoke billowing from shattered windows. In Kyiv, shocked people narrate the horror of the attack.
At 4 o'clock in the morning, the rockets began to whistle above us. That's when you understand that you need to go to a shelter. At the moment we left the house, the siren was screaming above my head. At this point, you feel horrific, primal fear that pierces your body with needles. You just don't know what to do.
The missile hit, and people were simply thrown by the impact. They were lying there. There was a woman, a wife, and their child. The woman was under a cement block. Her head was cut. It was split open. It was cut. She was under this block. We were not able to lift it. It was only lifted when the emergency services came. They used a lift, but she was not saved.
Rescue workers pulled bodies from the rubble. Blood-stained concrete, twisted metal, where homes once stood. The worst attack since recent diplomatic efforts began. Hypersonic weapons traveling faster than sound itself gave no warning, no time to run, no chance to hide.
At the time of the rocket attack, I was in the parking lot. Well, you could hear it very clearly in the parking lot too. Whistling, screeching noise. And well, I don't even know how to describe the feeling. And then, well, an explosion, probably right away. 1 and 3 minutes later, another rocket hit.
Buildings belonging to the European Union and the British Council were damaged in the strikes, both the EU and the UK to summon the top Russian diplomats in their capitals.
It shows that the Kremlin will stop at nothing to terrorize Ukraine, blindly killing civilians, men, women and children, and even targeting the European Union. This is why we are keeping maximum pressure on Russia. That means tightening our sanctions regime.
This powerful strike did not happen in a vacuum. It follows a series of audacious Ukrainian drone attacks over the past week, which successfully targeted and ignited major oil refineries deep within Russian territory. The war has shifted again, no longer confined to trenches and front lines, but reaching deep into cities, infrastructure and symbols of power. The echoes of the terrifying attacks in Kyiv hangs heavy in the air. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
All right. right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Dr. Anna Matvieva, who's a visiting senior research fellow at the Russia Institute at the King's College in London, and also a Russian affairs analyst. Dr. Matvieva, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, the fact that the Russians have carried out some of the biggest air attacks since they've been talking to Donald Trump and have also been talking about the possibility of a peace deal. You know, this attack that has taken place on an EU mission this week, and last week an American electronics factory was in fact struck in the western part of Ukraine. Is there a message that the Russians are now trying to send out?
I don't think that we should look at it at isolation. First of all, what I would like to really say that every loss of a human life, especially a civilian life, is always a tragedy, and my thoughts and prayers are with the families of who lost their loved ones. Well, the war is escalating. It is very obvious. What is different about this attack in a way that, well, Ukraine has launched massive attacks on Russia. Russia has launched massive attacks on Ukraine before. So in that sense, it's not something completely unusual. But Russia now has become more successful in achieving successful hits. Because previously, Ukrainian air defenses have been quite well adapted to hit most of the missiles and drones. Now this is shifting. In terms of where we are with war and peace here, this is a message from the Russian side that if you are not agreeing on our terms, or you do not even want to negotiate around our terms, we will force you into talking about a peace deal on our terms. So that there is some kind of message here, yes.
Right, now, the White House has said that these attacks that have been carried out by the Russians in many ways jeopardize the peace talks that are ongoing. Do you think, you know, the optimism that was witnessed when Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met, that has now become a thing of the past, and this war is now in a very different and a very difficult sort of a terrain?
No, I don't think so, because consultations between Russian and Ukrainian sides have been going on regardless for the last few months, and there have been various zigzags on the battlefield, but we have come to a critical junction, and in that sense it is very important to note this moment, is that either now the war is going to escalate and the question of war and peace would be solved on the battlefield, or we will have a peace process which will rapidly roll towards the actually comprehensive peace agreement. So far, we are looking at both solutions. Both are possible. It is quite normal that the sides pursue war and peace strategy at the same time, seeing where they will prevail. So yes, the events are moving, and Russia is trying to enforce a message on Ukraine and its Western backers that it is better to start negotiating a compromise which would mean some kind of concessions for Ukraine, or things can get worse.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Matvieva, for joining us with that perspective there.
Thank you.